All right, welcome in to episode 3 of Going the JC Route. This is your host, JC. I'm here with the boys again. Both of them are back, AJ Brock and the Birdman. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Are you
Come
really?
I'm coming off of a bitter high after yesterday, but after a very long and trying weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Monday was good. Saturday was awful. I wanted to, I was probably I wanted to fight a lot of people after that after Saturday.
Oh, we saw
Man.
you as you're walking out of the stands, like on like a speed walk ahead of us, shirtless at Jerry World. this man.
I think. Hold on. I think that's a good lead into our first thing we need to talk about, and that's really that's our frustrations.
This man was bad.
Let me cut you off. We need to intro it properly. I think leaving a stadium with no shirt on is a good enough precursor to what we're getting to. So I'm just gonna let you tell the story, man. Arkansas Aggie, man. What were y'all dealing with? Like, honestly, what were you dealing with?
You want to start, or you want me to start?
You can talk, and then I'll share my thoughts.
So, after the ding dang doink, after Arkansas came out swinging, guns a blazing, 14-0 lead, KJ Jefferson decides to make a boneheaded play and let A&M in the game. And then they take their foot off the gas, don't start going again until the fourth. And then to try and take the lead, it hits off the post with like a minute something to go. We leave, and this man is so angry, he walks out of the stadium shirtless. He was that mad.
I've heard of people taking off their shirt and having like the other team's shirt beneath, just shirtless though.
Shirtless.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put on an A&M shirt. What am I? Why? Why would I do that?
You could have.
No. So, the thing is that I think nobody thought that A&M was going to win that game after the first quarter. I mean, they didn't look great. We looked so much better than them. We were making great drives. Honestly, the only quarter I thought that they won was the third quarter. And the thing is that the quarter that you lost that game was the second. I mean, they took the lead in the third, but the quarter that lost you the game was the second quarter. You had two drives in that game where you had a chance to go up at least 24-7. You had one drive where you're moving the ball, you just get past the 50-yard line, then you bring in Malik Hornsby, who is supposed to be a backup running back, or backup quarterback, but they were trying to use him in different situations.
So
they used him 3 different times. They're basically using him as like a slot receiver,
so
kind of like
I'll be honest, kind of like paying attention. Why did they bring Hornsby in? I really wasn't paying attention to that game.
So there was rumor. There were rumors going around that he was going to come in to be like to be used because he's an athletic dude. If you have an athletic dude that's that athletic, you bring him in for situations and you allow him to make plays. The problem is that they used him 3 different times on the same drive, and it went nowhere. Like I said, they were driving. They were making really good progress. They were driving. And then when they brought in Hornsby, the first play that they did was try a little screen over to the right, and it got tipped. And then the second play, they tried a little reverse with him that went like 5 yards backwards. And then I think on third down, they tried something else with him that failed. And they ended up going from kicking a field goal to they went from kicking a field goal to punting it back to them. And they couldn't move the ball for much of that game. And then the worst drive of the game that really lost you the game is what was it like less than 4 minutes left to go until halftime. You're driving, you made really good plays, and then you're on the 5-yard line, and I don't know why he did this, but he went up, he dove with the ball over like he was on the goal line, fumbled the ball. They recovered it. They started running backwards, running back to their own end zone. Then Rocket Sanders comes up, tackles him, or tries to bring him down, but instead he's trying to play with the ball, and then the ball gets handed to somebody else, and he runs for a touchdown. That was the play that really affected that game. But I mean, we did, in the fourth quarter, we made several plays. We scored a touchdown to get within, I think it was like 3 or something like that. And then we were again driving on our last drive, and we were making really good progress. And it was, what was it? Was it third down, Aiden?
Yeah, it was third.
AJ. So it was a third down. And if we get a first down, we basically can run the clock out. But instead, the ball shoots past him. No, I think it was a second down. Ball shoots past our quarterback, and then our running back, Rocket Sanders. He's lucky he jumped on that ball, but it cost us. And then we had to kick a 47-yard field goal, and it doinked off the cross or off the bar. But the fact is that that shouldn't have been a game. And that's the third or fourth time I think that I can recall where we outplayed them and lost. And I've said this as well. There isn't any moral victory in any sport, no matter what. But there is, you can feel good about certain games. The Texas game where they played great against Alabama. That's a game where you're just like, okay, there's something there, even though they, we'll talk about what happened to them later. And then for us, last year when we played Ole Miss, we scored. We lost that game, but we lost it on our own terms. This is the complete opposite of that. This game is just the most foul-tasting game you could ever play because you outplayed them. You looked way better than them, except for one quarter, and you lost that game because you made dumb mistakes, and dumb mistakes cost you that game. You should be you could very easily be in the top 10 with momentum going to play Alabama. Instead, what you have is you lost an emotional, much more emotional game than it should have been, and now you had to go and play Alabama at 2:30 on CBS. And that's the last time I'm talking about this game because it ticked me off.
Deep breaths.
You've held quite a lot in over these past couple of days.
When we were a motorized bicycle company, they said we'll never
What are
be
we doing?
What is that?
What are we doing?
What will they say
Turn it off.
next?
What was that?
It's on Aiden's end. All I know is I muted Aiden and it went away. So
Not on my end. I don't know.
I don't know what the hell that was.
That wasn't okay. That was weird.
No DMCA's, no copyrights. We don't need that right now. That's not good. What the hell was that? Now that we're completely
I don't know what that was.
I might as well just get to it. I mean, I'll be honest, I paid no attention to that game because I had my own problems.
Yeah, you did.
Whoa.
Yeah, you did.
I'm suffering from a full dose of purple PTSD. I don't understand. I mean, I really like Chris Kleiman and what he's doing. I liked him since he was back at North Dakota State, but dude, come on, man. There's something about K-State.
Did y'all struggle with him last year?
They've beat us 3 out of the last 4 meetings.
God, you just stay away from Kansas State.
That's why you're heading to the SEC.
Yeah, that's the only reason why we're.
That's the sole reason.
I mean, man, it was just not good. We got beat on all 3 sides of the ball. I mean, our offensive line actually played okay, but honestly, on the offense, is more us beating ourselves. Like penalties on the offensive line. For the most part, Dylan Gabriel looked really well, like really good. He still had over 300 yards passing, had a couple touchdowns, but I think the glaringly obvious thing is the missed throws. What?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a double move in the first half that Drake Stoops beat his man atrociously and would have walked into the end zone, and Dylan Gabriel overthrew him by 7 yards. Like, you cannot have that happen. And there was a couple other throws as well where you're just like, if you make that throw, that's a touchdown, and we can't be missing those throws. I'm not gonna say it was Dylan Gabriel's fault we lost that game. I'm just not, because he played really well. But man, what if? But yeah. I think it's pretty obvious the real downside to the game was our defense. I mean, it legitimately looked like 2018 Oklahoma Sooners, like Kyler Murray.
I'm looking at the score, and it looks like a Big 12 game from about 5 years ago, 41-34. I mean, that was a game 5 years ago you would have looked at it and gone, oh, that's a Big 12 score.
Right. And we gave up more points this weekend than we had year to date. We only given up 30 points the entire season.
Is it a case that Kansas State is really good, or Oklahoma they got some more?
I think it's both. You can't talk. Okay, shut up. Hold on. You didn't even watch the game.
Hold on. I was gonna add something to Chris's question. Or is it a case that Adrian Martinez just needed a change of scenery?
No.
Don't think so?
He was bad up until this game.
He looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate.
I agree. That doesn't need to happen against us, though. I honestly, it's we weren't. We got out game planned, like straight up. Our two stud young defensive ends, Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs, got completely game planned out of the game. They were non-factors all night. We got into the backfield, and anytime we got into the backfield, our spies were taken out of the game. The whole game, I'm like, where's our spy? Put a spy on Martinez. And I went back and watched a couple of the drives, and I realized we had a spy. Just their gaps and their spacing was not good, and they ended up getting swallowed up by a back or a tackle or something. And that's how these dudes are breaking big games. I said it last week. I was like, if we can contain Deuce Vaughn, we win that game by 3 scores. Well, guess what? We don't tackle. We don't have good spacing. And Deuce Vaughn runs wild. And guess what? When Deuce Vaughn's running wild, people are going to pay attention to him. And now Adrian Martinez can run all over you like he's Usain Bolt track star.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a great running back, I mean, it takes away from the pressure from the court. Like, you look at like the Giants and I'm going with the NFL, but having Saquon Barkley for Daniel Jones is doing wonders for him. So
talk about a dude who looked really good last night.
Who? Daniel Jones or
Saquon?
Saquon Barkley looked really good, which allowed Daniel Jones to look a lot better. He looked so much more comfortable back there with a competent running back. But to that point with Vaughn, who had a $100 $116 to start for that game, and then it allowed Martinez to get yards because they're worried about the running back.
Man, I just can't and what's frustrating now is I'm really nervous moving forward, because if this game is I don't think it's an indicator of things moving forward, but man, it's one of those things where it's like the players regressed to previous years coaching, and you can't do that when you have a whole new scheme and a whole new system of places you need to be, right? I think also it showed a little bit of the lack of experience on the defense. I mean, we've got young players on the defensive line. We've got a young linebacking core. But here's another thing, right? I can say it with I want to say 99% confidence. Brent Venables is going to put the best players that he feels will give us the best chance to win the game on the field. That said, why the hell was Justin Broyles in for 95% of the snaps instead of Key Lawrence? The only plays I can remember, I don't want to say every play, but a lot of the plays I remember on the defense is Justin Broyles either getting burnt out of position or not knowing where to be. That was the most frustrating thing I can remember. There's just plays I'm like, that's your guy, and you're running around in no man's land. What are you doing?
Yeah,
it was just beyond frustrating. Like, I probably aged 12 years back in 2018 from that team, and I got that same feeling from this weekend. But going back to what I'm not feeling good is when you have a game like that and you put that kind of performance on tape, now every team's going to try to exploit it the same way. And what makes me nervous
against TCU.
Well, what makes me nervous is not necessarily against TCU, but when you have mobile quarterbacks that can do the same thing Adrian Martinez can.
Baylor.
I don't really know if what's his face Blake Shapen's mobile, but we're talking. We're talking Jalen Daniels at Kansas. We're talking Spencer Sanders at Oklahoma State. Max Duggan can move a little bit with TCU. Not necessarily Texas, but those other three guys make me a little bit nervous going forward. I expected us to be good this year, but man, that's just a weakness we can't be having.
Yeah.
Well, you over there dealt with your one loss. I'm over here dealing with my 2.5. I was, after a very long day, I went to the Arkansas game just to see a dink dank doink.
I'll tell you what, I was feeling so good after watching Texas and Texas Tech. And I've told you guys multiple times.
It's simple. They downplay their opponent. They went into that game cocky, man. I mean, allowing Texas Tech to get 31 first downs, 31. That's, I mean, complete opposite of the defense I saw when they played Alabama. Their third down defense was great, but allowing them to be 6 for 8 on fourth downs and not get off the field is a problem. But I think having Overshown on the bench certainly didn't help for the first half, but because he had to have a targeting in the second half versus UTSA, but still, these past two games, like Tech and UTSA, really exploited just the little short like hook routes because to show that they can stop that.
Is it a case where with Alabama they played higher than they were supposed to?
No, the one who is arguably the best running back in college football, like fumbles when you need him to come up big most. But also, I
think it's.
I'm not going to. My only criticism for Bijan, but my other criticism is Sark didn't use Bijan more. Bijan only if I may, only carried the ball 16 times. Like that needs to be in the 20s.
Yeah,
maybe
he has 16 carries.
Below 30.
Like 16 carries and 103 yards.
And that's been like the biggest thing, like on Twitter, listening to the radio. He needs to use Beige more. And
I mean,
I think Gary
gets I don't disagree, but what's becoming apparent is it's not. I don't really think it's Texas playing up or playing down. They just play to their opponent. Whether it's Bama, Oklahoma, or Kansas and Texas Tech, they just play to the opponent, and I think
here comes Bama. Let's get ready to beat their ass.
Have you seen the video of Joey McGuire after the game? Joey McGuire in the locker room was like, "I told you, if we keep playing hard, they'll break." And
yeah, they broke.
What did they do? They broke. And I've told you guys this multiple times. I am the biggest Joey McGuire fan out there. Like, I adore Joey McGuire, people from Texas don't understand that. And I've got my reasons why. But dude, Joey McGuire is that dude. And I think not only you mentioned it going 6 of 8 on 4th down, I think the point of going for 8 4th downs is probably the biggest just fuck you. I'm going to do this and you're not going to stop me.
Our language.
Which is true.
It was. No, it was. And, you know, usually tell the team's different and I guess take it how you want it, but it's a different team with Hudson Card in there and not Quinn Ewers.
The thing is, Hudson Card played well.
He played. He didn't play bad at all. He played pretty well. You can tell he's getting more comfortable in there, but there's something different when Ewers is in there. You can tell that they're a little more confident what they're doing. But enough said. That's my thoughts on Texas.
I think
I did see that. I did like this. I did like this from Bijan is that after that month yesterday, he walked around campus with a football in his hand. Like teammates would come up to him at random and just try and hit it out of his hands. And
I mean,
random people. That's something I really like. I'm
starting to learn. Sark does not have that. For lack of better terms, he doesn't have that dog in him, right? Like he clearly
when he drinks.
He clearly calls plays differently when Quinn is in there versus Card. He coaches scared when Card's at quarterback.
Yeah,
he doesn't. But here's the thing: at the end of the game, you're in overtime. He put the ball in the hands of his best player, and Bijan got absolutely punked on the first play of overtime.
I think it was McIntyre was the one who caused the fumble.
Right, but the thing is, when you put the ball in the hands of your best player, you don't expect him to fumble.
Right.
You don't plan for that. Which, I mean, you can't really blame anybody for that. Texas put the ball in the hands of their best player. That's what you want to do in football, right? And Texas Tech said, "Hey, we're gonna win this game. Thank you."
Yeah, they did. They showed up.
All right, now to your second disappointment.
I was mentally prepared.
Hey, you had disappointments on all 3 time slots this Saturday.
I told Aiden at the Arkansas game, I don't know if you should be here.
Yeah, it was just a bad. I don't have much to say.
SMU-TCU is
I don't have much to say about them other than you can. I knew going into this year was going to be a down year, and as I was parking the car, I told my girlfriend, I was like, "We're today." It's just not. You know, when your head coach and whole coaching staff leaves to go to your rival, it's going to be a down year. So they end of the day, TCU played. And that's that. I thought Tanner didn't do terrible, but he certainly wasn't good. Missed wide open people. He Rashid a few times. He overthrew Siggers a few times, but Duggan showed up. Miller showed up. They showed up and they won. I don't have much to say about that.
I mean, SMU fought. I mean, they, what was it, 42-34? I mean, given how the game played, I thought they fought valiantly towards the end. But, I mean, yeah, TCU had looked better. And, I mean, it is a new coaching staff, so they're going to have to figure that stuff out. And the thing is,
I think SMU fell into the trap of letting their emotions take over their passion, and they didn't play well.
Because it's Sonny Dykes?
Yep. A lot of emotion get in the way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
yeah.
But you could tell.
The Heat couldn't have hurt either. Anytime it's hot enough that you've got play clocks overheating and turning off, it is not going to be fun.
We were comfortable.
I could tell before the game
of course you were.
We were comfortable.
You've been comfortable
I'm sure you were.
You've been comfortable. Yeah.
I was telling. That's where I was talking to. I was like, I could tell before the game that it was just gonna be an S show when they're reporting a sellout and the seats are empty.
Yeah.
And then you start hearing, oh yeah, there's people are just now showing up. People are struggling to get in X, Y, and Z, and you're just like, all right, this is gonna be one of those days where it's just not gonna go well.
Yeah, and it didn't. But I knew that. I fully expected Texas to win against Little Brother, but Little Brother showed up, and then.
Hey, if you listen to Joey McGuire,
And then
all roads go
A&M
through Lubbock.
And then A&M finally starts to look like a comp.
Weird things happen in Lubbock.
Especially at night. And then A&M actually.
So to that point, I'm scared for my life now. Guess where Oklahoma goes last week of the year?
Did they go to Lubbock?
To Lubbock in week 13.
They haven't announced a time yet.
Oh
no, but man, that
road trip to Lubbock, James.
Oh, dude, man, I think that's the week right after
how much are
Thanksgiving.
tickets?
Oh, they're not
How
gonna
much
be
are
that
tickets?
expensive. They're not gonna be expensive as like OU Texas or Arkansas A&M. Can't.
Yeah,
well, obviously.
But, man, that's
Despite the loss, I am still excited about our game, James.
We'll have to.
We'll see how this week goes.
We'll see how this week goes, and then we'll talk about that next week. We'll prep for the game leading into it, and we'll wrap it up the week after. But I think that's enough kind of frustrations.
I will say this: the only joy that game was fun going to Arkansas A&M despite the ending, but especially the beginning, the App State flag. Oh, it was great.
I totally forgot you took the App State flag.
I took the App State flag. A lot of the Aggies took it with grace, and we agreed it was all in good fun. Like a lot of them were nice, but then you run into those.
You're toxic. You're absolutely toxic.
Yeah, he is. He is.
I ran into somebody that also had an App State sign, so we got a picture together. So it wasn't just me. So I was not alone there. But
okay, let's go around the rest of college football real quick. I think a good place to start is probably what everybody would call the game of the week. Florida Tennessee.
Okay.
Florida Tennessee. I'll be honest, I was watching Texas and Texas Tech most of this game, but I did switch over, and my goodness, did Anthony Richardson and Hendon Hooker look like the quote unquote Heisman contenders that people make them up to be. They were slinging that thing all over the place. And
Anthony Richardson, he's looked good against 10. I mean, he's probably the reason they Florida beat Utah.
But to this point though, he hasn't looked like.
He may not be the sole reason.
Thing is, he played all right against Utah, but he hasn't exactly lived up to the hype that people had on him coming into the season.
Yeah.
But this game this week showed that hype.
Well, but maybe he didn't play great against Utah, but I thought that he's the reason why they beat Utah. And then I think he's been like this up and down, but playing against Tennessee, I didn't watch the game because I was heading to an abomination, but I think I feel like he steps up for those big games.
And how can you not be romantic about Checker kneeling? That atmosphere was legit.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We should go to just a game.
Yeah, we were talking.
Neyland's on my list, man. I'd love to go to Neyland.
We should just pick a stadium every year and just go there.
Fuck it, let's go. But dude, them singing Rocky Top after the game. You've got Josh Heupel. Oh, Rocky Top is back. We're back.
So
that's the same thing that Texas said after.
I'll say we've heard that saying before, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. Another UT messing up.
They're like Cowboys fans. Cowboys fans.
So between the two, James, who do you prefer, Richardson or Hooker?
Man, I think they're both really good. I think
they can move.
I think Richardson has the higher upside, but I think Hendon Hooker's consistency and floor is better. I think he's a higher floor with better consistency, but I think Anthony Richardson has a higher ceiling.
Who has the better team? Better weapons, better skill players around him.
Man, well, keep in mind Tennessee's top receiver wasn't playing this weekend. That said, though, dude, Florida's receivers have not given Anthony Richardson any help. Who's their best receiver? Like Justin Shorter. Dude has stones for hands. Like honestly, Anthony Richardson's really good, but his receivers have not done him any favors this year. Speaking about, I think Aiden's frozen. But I was like talking about receivers who should be in a Biletnikoff conversation. My good friend Marvin Mims, thank you very much. He looks awesome so far.
Mims.
But yeah, like honestly, just Florida's receivers have not done Anthony Richardson any help this year. Who's Tennessee's number one receiver? His name is slipping.
Stand by.
Slipping. That's gonna really bug me, and I'm not happy about it.
Talking about Bru McCoy?
No, it's dang it, what's his name? Crap. Tillman, Charles Tillman, Chris Tillman, whatever his name is.
Wasn't Bru McCoy supposed to be like this standout?
He can't figure out where the hell he wants to go.
Yeah, he went from like Texas to USC.
No, so here's the thing. He committed and signed with USC, never showed up, turned up, got out of his letter of intent, signed with Texas, got there with Sark, never freaking played, got hurt or something, went back to USC, ended up not doing anything there under Clay Helton last year, and has now transferred to Tennessee. He's actually decent. But if he can put it together, he's 5-star talent, dude. If he can put it together, he'd be great. But that's what I'm saying. Tillman didn't even play this weekend, and Tennessee's receivers look really good.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really see the game, but I know it had a crazy finish.
Talking about some receivers that look really good, Ohio State's done it again. I mean,
you know, that going into the season, that was touted supposed to be a really great offense. Like historically, I don't know about historically, but really great. And you know, they struggled coming out of the gates against Notre Dame. I think did they struggle in week 2 as well for a while to score?
I don't think so, but I could be. I mean, I've been wrong before. I'll be honest. I'm not paying the closest attention to Ohio State. No, so they beat Notre Dame 21-10. They beat Arkansas State 45-12, and they beat Toledo 77-21.
Okay, but I think it took. I think they struggled a little bit to score against Ohio State, but I mean, you know, besides the struggling against Notre Dame, I mean, they've shown that they are as a tremendously good offense, and you know, it's the same scenario, same old scenario with the Big Ten, where the East is really competitive and really good. I think
the top end is really good, but it drops off really quickly. Because I mean, you've got
but I think it's this. To me, it's the same scenario where it's like, you have the East is always very competitive. You have Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and then the West. I mean, they're competitive, but they aren't on the same level to me as the East.
No, but at this point in the West, it's Minnesota and everybody else. That's what it's looking like right now.
Pretty much, because Iowa can't score. Northwestern's never.
Dude,
I mean,
I was looking at it. Iowa's defense scored more points this weekend than their offense did.
I saw
They do not have a.
Their offense is horrible. I think it's going to be a slaughter this coming.
So it looks like it's going to be Minnesota versus whoever comes out of the East. and it's
I
probably
will tell you what though, Ohio State, Penn State's gonna be really fun this year.
Ohio State, Penn State will be fun. The Ohio State,
What was that?
Michigan's going to be phenomenal.
yeah, it probably will be.
And it's for it to be.
I'll tell you what was a phenomenal game this weekend though.
What?
I think it'd be more fun if it was somewhere else, just atmosphere wise. Because that's the thing is, if Ohio State gets ahead, they're just gonna run away with it in the shoe. I'll tell you what was a really good game this week though.
Miami,
Duke, Kansas, and not in basketball.
Oh, it's not basketball season. Wait, but it's not basketball
we
season.
were
Yet. What are you
sitting-
talking about? Wait,
we were.
what are you? Hold on. Hold on. Wait, it's not even basketball season. What are you talking about? Duke, Kansas isn't even supposed to be a thing. Like Kansas is supposed to
That's
be
a
like
good
they don't win a game except for like week 1 whenever they play like North Dakota or something. Not State, North Dakota.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
We were
that game was a lot of fun, and it has to be level of competition because I don't think either team is like national championship contender, but they're both good teams.
Yeah. But the thing is with
I was gonna say if you haven't heard of Jalen Daniels or have been paying attention yet, the quarterback for Kansas, you're gonna learn really quickly.
Well, I think the thing with Kansas is that it's huge. Like for them to win 4 games is monumental because like this has been a Kansas team since 2006, which is when they were a national title contender. This is a team since 2006 that has been literally a bottom feeder for years. I mean, they lose to teams like North Dakota, not North Dakota State, North Dakota. You know, they struggle against the division, the FCS schools. So it's nice from a Kansas perspective to be 4-0 and look like a competent football team. They may not be a championship contender. They may not even contend for the Big 12 at the end, but at least they're competitive.
They're going to give a lot of teams headaches this year. I mean, if Jalen Daniels can get 5 total touchdowns and no turnovers against a 3-0 Duke team, I'm sure he can do half of that against the good teams in the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
The dude is playing out of his mind.
I'm scared.
You know, I made this joke early. I made this joke after the Alabama game. I was like, now you got to face your biggest nemesis, which is Kansas. And now it's starting to look like that's not even a joke anymore.
That's not a joke.
That's starting to become.
That's a reality.
That's becoming more legitimate. Yeah, that's becoming more legitimate.
Guess where that game is this year?
I know it's at Kansas.
It's in Lawrence. Talk about a road trip.
Are we going to Kansas? How many road trips? How many road trips are we doing this year?
Too many.
But
now there's gonna be a lot of fun.
They
could very well be undefeated when they roll into Norman in a couple weeks.
They could,
because they've got Iowa State this week, which is not an easy game by any means. But next week they've got
TCU
next week, right?
Yeah.
So they could very well be 6-0 rolling into Norman in 3 weeks.
Oh, absolutely.
And that would make me really nervous. Rank Kansas, you cowards. Rank Kansas.
Who they got this week?
Iowa State.
Kansas has Iowa State this week.
Iowa State. That like if they they're going to have to at some point.
If they beat Iowa State, they're going to choice. They're going to have to rank them.
Matt Campbell might actually have a stroke if he loses to Kansas. Did you see his meltdown on the sidelines this week against Baylor?
Dude, yes.
I definitely, Didn't he call it? He called a timeout specifically.
I like Matt Campbell a lot. I have a lot of respect for him, but he's one of the more passionate coaches in football. But still, like if he
meanwhile, you've got Dave Aranda just straight face on the other sideline. Even though it was funny when the cameras this weekend caught him, giving ass slaps to staff and players. I was just like, what? Dave Aranda happy? What kind of robot failure is this?
What'd you think about
But I think the last kind of. So I think the last game we kind of have to talk about is Miami and Middle Tennessee State.
So I agree with Chris on that one.
What a shocker!
Yeah, I seriously thought after seeing how just terrible Miami did, I was like, okay, A&M struggled against them. Arkansas is gonna like be in a different realm, but
Yeah,
Miami,
like to be
Miami
honest,
had a mental down.
to be honest, going and I said I wasn't going to talk about it again, but here we are. But with A&M, they didn't look great against Sam Houston, and then talk about Miami. Miami, the only reason they didn't win is because you put them into the red zone 4 times, goal line on top of that, and you couldn't score. And I was like, when I see Miami struggling against Middle Tennessee State, I'm just like, well, we should have no problems because I mean, we've had it besides Missouri State, which was just awful as well. But we've had a tougher schedule than them. So I thought that was going to be the case, which obviously it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, but then on the other hand, seeing how good Miami played, I thought Miami was going to be a lot better, and maybe they were going to be. I'm not going to say back to the U at all, but maybe they were going to be a competitive team. And then seeing Middle Tennessee State, it's like, well, did they have a relapse, or are they just the same old Miami team that just showed up for a really good game against A&M and is just going to be like what 6-6, 7-5?
I think A&M broke them, kind of like OU broke Texas last year. Time will only tell if that's the truth, but just
and then Texas Tech is breaking Texas this year.
Just an absolute shocker. And it wasn't even pretty because it's like Miami's defense is giving up gash plays. Like I think they had like 3 plays over 70 yards or something given up or something like that.
Yeah.
One was like 72, 80 something, like a 98. I think that's right. Just atrocious defense. It's a shocker. I think a lot can be said about what Miami comes out and does this week. Who are they playing this week?
Miami is playing standby. They are playing North Carolina at home. So Miami's at home playing Mac Brown.
So another offense that can put up points.
Hold on.
Middle Tennessee
hold on.
Got over 500
Wait, did
yards.
you say Miami? Did you say Miami plays North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
They're in the ACC, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Week 5, North Carolina plays Virginia Tech.
What are you looking at?
What are you looking at?
I don't know.
Huh?
We need to get this right.
October 8th versus North Carolina.
That's next weekend, homeboy. This Saturday is October 1st.
They play Virginia Tech on the 15th.
North Carolina's playing Virginia Tech on the 1st. So this weekend is
Hey, you're on the wrong weekend.
No, they moved it because of the storms.
Miami's on bye this week.
Yeah, so they play the 8th.
Yeah. So now they get 2 weeks to sit on that before.
Right.
That's no fun. Man, that's. I think a lot is going to be told on what they do against North Carolina. So we'll have to see what happens there. But I think the last thing, not that's the second to last thing we can talk about college football is we talked about last week. Unpredictability and the fact that college football is so reckless at times. That's why it's the best sport in the world, right? There were so many games this weekend that should not have been interesting, and they delivered in every aspect of the way.
Yeah. Who would have thought that Georgia's kryptonite is Kent State? Georgia
and Kent State's getting the bag for that game too. They're paying them like $1.5 $5 million to go give them a game in.
I bet they
Athens.
are, but like
Which I mean,
up
if
until
that's
that
what you're
game,
paying for,
Georgia,
that's what you want, right?
Georgia won.
yeah, they did, but they
Yeah, but they gave up
They-
22 to Kent State.
worked for that game. That was not an easy victory for them.
Oh yeah,
What was it?
it was
17,
one score
14
until
at
the
halftime?
last. Yeah, it was a
At
one-score
half-
game until like the last 5 minutes of the game.
At halftime, it was 22-3. I'm sorry, 22-13.
See,
So I mean,
I'm sorry.
it was
pretty close. It was within 10 points almost the whole entire game. But I mean, not only do you have that game, but you have Oregon and Washington State. That game was incredible. You've got Bo Nix and Cam Ward just absolutely brawling in Pac-12 after lunch. Shot for shot, big plays. Washington State though with a shocker, throwing away a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left. Jesus.
playing in Atlanta.
But that game was incredible. You know, you got Ole Miss and Kentucky against Tulsa and Northern Illinois playing in fist fights they should not be in.
Yeah.
And then my favorite disappointment this week, other than Oklahoma, was USC.
Oh, I'm sure you would have loved. I'm sure you would have loved. You would have loved had they.
I would have.
That'll put you in a much better mood.
I would have. But I think I told you guys earlier, there was a lot of steam coming into this weekend that Oregon State might beat USC. And sure enough, and Oregon State's a good team this year.
Well, that's another thing that we could talk about is how, it feels like to me with the Pac-12 that they're getting better. Like we used to always joke about how bad the Pac-12 is and that it's all for kids and stuff like that. But at least from inside that conference, it looks a lot more competitive.
Yeah,
when you have Oregon State, USC. You said UCLA is undefeated. Washington State, it's Utah. From at least from that top part of the conference, as you had mentioned, that top part of that conference, it's super competitive, and it looks like a conference that, it looks like it's a lot more fun than
it was. There was a pretty widespread opinion coming into this year that the Pac-12 was just going to be atrocious again, other than Utah and USC and maybe Oregon. But I have a sneaking suspicion that let me finish this thought. I have a sneaking suspicion that the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are switching roles this year. What I mean by that is typically the Pac-12 is just that conference that cannibalizes itself and everybody's kind of mid. And the Big 12 is usually, the top 3 or 4 teams are ultra competitive, and then you've got everybody else. It seems like that the Pac-12 this year, you just talked about it, Chris. The top half is incredibly competitive. You've got USC, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State at the top half, USC or UCLA, and then you've got Colorado mealing around at the bottom. But
they're the Vanderbilt of that conference.
But this year in the Big 12, the worst record's 2-2. Texas and West Virginia are 2-2. That's the worst record. Everybody else is 3-1 or undefeated. I have a feeling that's going to change pretty quickly. I hope a couple of the top teams break away. Oklahoma State, hopefully Oklahoma, Kansas. That'd be a lot of fun. I think I'm on the train officially that if Oklahoma's not winning the Big 12, I hope it's Kansas.
Kansas and Iowa State for the Big 12 championship.
Oh gosh.
No, Kansas and Kansas State for the Big 12 championship.
That would be interesting.
Okay.
I would pay for a ticket to that game.
I
would, because it's a Jerry World, baby, every year. But I think that would be a really interesting dynamic this year if the Big 12 and the Pac-12 switch roles, essentially, where the Big 12 has pretty consistently been the third best conference behind the SEC and the Big 10. I think it'd be a really interesting dynamic if the Pac-12 for once jumped up into that third kind of position.
Yeah, and I think with a
conference,
the teams within themselves, in that conference, can make it competitive within each other. Outside the conference, I don't know, but within itself,
Oh, Lincoln
it's-
Riley's
well-
going to do the same thing if he gets in the playoff. Slide in
Well, the
4
thing
seed
is-
and get dicked on
Lose.
by Georgia in the first round.
or Bama.
The-
Or
the-
Ohio
well, the
State.
thing is that whenever Oregon went to go play Georgia, like Georgia to me, with the exception of like the way they looked against Kent State, I guess, but Georgia to me just it feels like Georgia and everybody else. So, but like I think after that game, everybody looked at like
So
the
here's my thought,
Pac-12 and
though.
was like, it was. But here's the thing. It was like you mentioned it was going to be like USC and maybe like USC, Utah, and maybe Oregon. But Oregon had the question of what were they going to do with when Cristobal had left. They have a new coaching staff, and then the questions to me probably got a little bit bigger after they not only lost to Georgia but looked pedestrian, like really bad.
They look like
And
an FCS
like
team.
I think that
losing to Georgia.
exactly. And so they looked like a lot of question marks were surrounding the Pac-12 minus maybe Utah and even Utah lost to Florida. So could they, be as good as they were? So Utah, USC, but now it looks like everybody else is getting more competitive. But like Aiden said, I think it's it's more competitive within the conference. But like, what can they do whenever you get to like postseason time? Can they beat those teams that they need to beat? Whenever they go and play in those bowl games.
And I want to give
So they
that's a great question, and I want to give Oregon just a little bit of slack because that's Bo Nix and the new system with a new head coach. I want to against.
But it's not.
Well, but they're also playing the
You know,
defending.
you know who Bo Nix's OC was his first year at Auburn was, right? Kenny Dillingham, who's his OC now.
But still, I mean,
It's a situation similar to Dylan Gabriel and Jeff Levy. They're familiar with each other, and so it's.
But still,
you're not a quarterback coming in a new system. Yes, it's a new place and a new situation, but it's not starting brand new over.
it's not just him though. It's not just Bo Nix. I mean, new head coach that coached at Georgia, but still, just facing the defending champs in Atlanta, like I can give them a little bit of grace.
I think Dan Lanning is going to be really good for Oregon, but they need some time to let him recruit and
3 years. I feel like you have to give the coach at least 3 years.
3 years is
If you don't,
give them the
unless they're Chad Morris.
give them
Unless they're Chad Morris and they win
that's
4
your
games
one,
in 2 years.
That's the one exception.
give them the old Texas.
No,
the 2.5 year.
Like I'm using that as an example. Like the goal is to progress every year. If you're winning 2 games and those 2 games you struggle against, whenever you're playing San Jose State and you're losing badly, like there's a time when you're just like, okay, 2 years is enough. But as long as you're progressing, 3 years should be good. And as long as Oregon doesn't take a lot of steps back, I mean,
and to be
they look
fair,
pretty competitive still.
It should not be hard to progress in the Pac-12. It just shouldn't.
It should, in theory, right? But in theory, they are getting more competitive with each other, though.
Yeah.
But USC and UCLA
but then
who cares about West Coast football anyway?
Well, I mean, it's nice to pass the time after
who are going to the Big Ten.
It's a nice time whenever like there's football to watch at night. But
it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see UCLA travel to Big Ten country with their whole 10 fans.
Ooh, or how about this? How about this? You have UCLA versus Ohio State at the Rose Bowl with like 10 people.
No, you're gonna get.
It's gonna be 10 UCLA fans and like 100,000 like Ohio State fans.
The thought of
it's gonna be an away game in Los Angeles.
The thought of Lincoln Riley on the sidelines of Rutgers for an 11 a.m. noon game Rutgers time on a cold November afternoon makes me giggle. Like you go to UCLA or USC for the weather and the football and all that other stuff, West Coast stuff, and you go to Big Ten and you're sitting in the snow on Rutgers at 11 a.m. and I'm just like, that's what you get. That's what you get.
Yep.
All right.
On
So that was a lot of talk on college football. Every week, I'm telling you, it seems like it never gets old. That's why I treasure every week I can in college football. But
We're
let's
gonna be
get
talking about it a
let's
lot
get
more.
to the positivity from the
yes. So
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about
Let's get to the positivity
a nice
from
turnaround. A nice turnaround from
the
a very
Cowboys.
long and trying. How much did you watch, James?
I watched probably most of the second half. That's about
Okay.
it.
So Chris and I watched it. Not we watched it from different places, but we watched that from whistle to whistle, and it was they did pretty well. Now I don't want to make it seem like beating the Giants is a big win, but with a team that's hurt and still trying to
They were
figure
2-0 and looking half decent.
exactly, but and Daniel Jones is actually starting to look like a competent quarterback because he has Saquon Barkley,
A running back.
He has a running back in the backfield that is competent
Healthy.
and looks good and healthy. But no, the Cowboys under Daniel Jones, man. I'm sorry. Wow, Cooper Rush.
Wow.
Daniel
Wow.
Jones at quarterback in Dallas. Man, I'll
Whoa,
tell you
no,
what, that's
no,
exciting.
forget I said that.
When did I miss that?
No,
You didn't see it. They switched quarterbacks. They gave us Daniel Jones, and then we gave him Cooper Rush.
it was a mirage.
So the Cowboys
no,
got worse.
they-
I got it.
The Cowboys under Cooper Rush, man, are starting to figure things out. And one thing that I liked, especially from this game, that they're doing a lot better, McCarthy and Kellen Moore, is they're rotating Zeke and Pollard more efficiently and distributing the ball a little bit.
I'll tell
A
you
nice
what.
balance between the two.
From the little bit of game I watched yesterday, I'll tell you what. Zeke looks fit again.
Zeke looked good.
He looked.
Zeke had a
I'll
great,
say,
he had a great game.
There was a couple of moments I was like, is that Tony Pollard? Like Zeke is looking thin again, which is a good
Yep.
thing.
Yeah, Zeke actually had a good game. He didn't lead the Cowboys. Pollard led the Cowboys in rushing, but still Zeke was effective on that 3rd and 12, like with a nice block from rookie Tyler Smith.
I will tell you, the offensive line looked better. Like they took a step forward.
Cooper Rush was sacked 0 times last night. 0.
I think
hold on, Chris. And they shut down Thibodeau. They shut down like the rest of the defensive front of the Giants. So they did really, really well.
Minus the couple penalties Tyler Smith had, because there was that one awful false start. I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? You can't do that.
Yeah, I think
he played well. Terrence Steele played really well.
He did. And, I can understand him having a few, penalties. It's his first road game in New York, hostile environment. I get it. But he played pretty well. He was the leading blocker that got Zeke the first down on that 3rd and 12.
You know what my favorite part of the offense was? Jason Peters coming in playing left guard.
Oh, it was
first
beautiful.
Peters snap. Absolutely launched Tony Pollard for a chunk play.
Yeah, and
I think he was the might have been.
Peters looked good, and the other thing, kind of shifting focus to Cooper Rush, no criticism whatsoever. He has done literally everything you have asked him to do in these past 2 weeks. No interceptions yet. Completing his passes, taking his time, surveying the field, not forcing anything. The one incomplete pass to Lamb, because Lamb decided to
hurt my heart.
That broke my heart too. But no, he was cool, calm, and collected, and I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Cooper Rush. I wasn't entirely hitting the doomsday button after week 1, but I was really close. But now I'm kind of like, okay, it's working.
He can more than bridge the gap until Dak returns.
Is he going to return? Is he going to?
Yes, he is.
Yes,
he is. Here's the thing. I thought, their offensive line looked fantastic. I think I had part to do with Jason Peters being in there because he looked amazing. Honestly, it kind of looked like the offensive lines of old. But talking about the Cooper Rush thing, he looked really good. He made some really good throws. I mean, the throw to CeeDee Lamb in the back of the end zone was really nice. He made a throw, and I think it was to Noah Brown, where he snapped the ball really quickly, act like he was about to hand it off, and then really quickly just threw it on like a slant. It was a really nice play. But like for Cooper Rush, I don't think they're going to replace Dak. I mean, Dak is he's a $40 million man, so they're gonna have to put him back in there. But it makes you more comfortable that if he comes back out, if Dak Prescott comes back out and he struggles, you are comfortable with replacing him with Cooper Rush, because he's had 3 games, and all 3 of those games he's done what he's been told. Second game he played, he didn't have a great second half, but I mean he's looked great in every game that he's looked really good in the games that he's played.
And even in that second half though against the Bengals, I don't think that's so much him as it is that the Bengals just controlled. They had the ball most of that half, so I don't think that was so much him as it is the Bengals just had clock management.
I think it's fair to say that our outlook is a little bit more positive today than it was after week 1. To be fair, I'm not quite ready to say my take was a bust yet, but the defense is looking really, really damn good.
And our boy Diggs with the game-winning interception.
Okay. Yes, but dude, twice in this game, he jumped a route perfectly, had it timed, and missed the damn ball. Gets completed for a chunk play.
There was one that he had that I looked at.
The only reason
I thought he was going to the house, and somehow
but that's the whole thing. They talked about it last night on the broadcast too. Boomer bust, and it's because he plays so aggressive. It's like, yes, you're going to get interceptions, but you're going to give up these big.
Well,
plays.
the only reason he got that pick was because the guy running the route slipped. But I mean, it was a really nice pick, but that was the only reason he got that pick. But no, but that's the risk that you take with him, is that you're going to get those
extra couple turnovers over the course of the season.
If you're going to try to go get those extra turnovers for the season, you're going to get beat a couple times. Although I think one of those he got beat. There was an extra man covering the guy, and he also got beat.
Yeah, the one that was really obvious went through his hands. Like, it's bad. The safety came over the top and helped out, but that shouldn't have been a thing regardless. Break that ball up, and you don't have to worry about that.
Agreed.
They'll have to teach him. Like, they'll have to talk to him about that.
But regardless of what the secondary does, the front 7 is immaculate right now.
The front 7 actually, they have a pass rush, and the front 7 looks great.
Vander Esch looks good. Vander Esch looks good.
Right. DeMarcus Lawrence even showed up, and he's been a little quiet recently.
So here's a funny stat. I saw this from the weekend. So did you guys happen to watch the Eagles Commanders game?
Yes.
So the Eagles had 21 QB pressures that game. And I'm like, my God, their front 7 is like scary. Good. It still is. You know how many the Cowboys had on last night? 24. Set an NFL record. And I'm like, so you're telling me that Cowboys Eagles in a couple weeks is going to be a defensive struggle?
Dogfight.
Front 7.
It's going to be a dogfight.
On paper, it's going to be a good game.
It's going to be a lot of fun. That said, I think the Eagles offense is a little bit more consistent than the Cowboys right now.
They're also healthy.
That too.
They're healthy.
That too.
Well, they're supposed to get Gallup back this week, I believe, right?
I think so.
There was he was coming back this past week.
We're a motorized bicycle company.
What now?
You'll never.
Shut it up. Is it gone yet? Yeah, no, it's gone. Okay.
How is that possible?
What was that?
It's a motorcycle.
Okay, now I found it. So I have like all my I have like y'all on one side of my desktop, and then on my right side I've got like stats and stuff, and everything is muted. But I don't know how. Every now and then it'll just like switch to some ad video, and it'll go from. I just figured that
Rookie
out.
mistake.
Okay, so
Oh, that is
interesting.
Rookie mistake. But
nice.
well, the Cowboys have the Commanders this week.
I will be there.
They're going to give. They're going to give
What
Carson
now?
Wentz one hell of a week.
What?
Just get off the. Ugh.
I'm just going to remove you. See you later.
Gone. I just
You really
closed my
remove him?
pages. Too much crap,
Um,
dude. You know what? I'm just gonna do this on my iPad
Thanks.
from now on.
so you're going.
Thanks
You're
for
going to
ruining the
Commanders this
podcast.
week.
Huh?
Yeah, he said that. By the way, thanks for ruining the podcast.
You're welcome.
Thanks for ruining the show.
Yeah. See you later.
All right, what were you saying?
It's our show now.
Okay, get him back.
Get
him back in. Get him back in.
You're going to be at Cowboys Commanders this week.
I will.
Cowboys front seven are going to give Carson Wentz nightmares this week. I'm not starting
Carson
Carson
Wentz is
Wentz in
going
my
to be
fantasy league.
lucky to. Carson Wentz is going to be lucky to leave that game like walking.
Speaking of injuries, man, I was so
Yeah,
sad.
because he doesn't have a running back.
No, I was so sad seeing Sterling Shepard get hurt again this week.
And he kind of like it was a fluke. He was just like
It
trying.
was non-contact. They approved it. It's like torn ACL, MCL. I can't remember which one.
So
Those are the worst. Whenever
He's gone for the year again. But I think that's 3 out of the last 4 years now. He's had a significant injury, which sucks because Sterling Shepard's a great dude and a lot of fun to watch when he's healthy. And you could tell by all the people coming over, Cowboys and Giants, people love him. But that's sad. Let's get off that topic. Outlook is positive for the Cowboys. All right, we've been going over an hour now. I've got to be honest. I've got a hot take, and Chris isn't gonna like it. It's the Razorbacks are going to lose the next 3 games. Bama at home, at Mississippi State, and at BYU.
Do you have no faith in Sam Pittman?
It's not that. It's just that sequence of games is probably the least favorable in college football.
Well, I mean,
you're coming off an emotional loss against A&M, to say the least. Then you're gonna even if you beat Bama this week, or you were going to, you're going to get beat up and bruised and not necessarily
it's
injured.
gonna be an emotional
per se.
game if you win.
Right, but then you have to go to Starkville. Like the cowbells are gonna be ringing in your head whether you like it or not. And then from there, you have to go to Provo. Who wants to go to Provo in week 7 or week 8, whatever week it is? Like, that's not fun.
Well, the thing is that before we started this stretch of games, I looked at it and was like, it's going to be tough because you have Alabama coming into town, and normally they don't lose more than 1 game a year, or if they do it, the second game is later in the year, and they normally don't struggle against more than 1 or 2 teams. So, they kind of had a rude awakening against Texas. Everybody thought they were going to blow the doors off that game, and they did it. And it has to be expected that the Nick Saban team that is coming into Fayetteville will be coached up and will probably be ready to play that game. And there's a chance that we probably lose that game pretty badly. There's also a chance that we play with them, but I just think, to me, that's a game that you lose. But if you do manage to win that game, that's back-to-back emotional games that you have to play, where the game against the game on Saturday, and then this game coming up. If you manage to win that game, then the game in Starkville could go 1 or 2 ways depending on how their Mississippi State's offense is, because to me it's very inconsistent. That game could be like Ole Miss's game, the Ole Miss game last year, where we put 48 points on the board and lost by 2. So I feel like that could be a shootout if it turns out that way. And another thing I took away from the A&M game is that we cannot tackle. We have the worst form when it comes to wrapping up to tackle. So it may be a shootout where both teams have a combined 900 yards, and then God knows how many
900 points, huh?
Yeah, 900 points, and then the BYU game, that one is daunting. I think if that game isn't during the stretch, I think you have a great chance of beating them. They have not looked great. They've struggled against teams. I think they struggled against Wyoming. So it's a game that any other week, I think, if it was after the bye week, which is right after the BYU game, I feel like you feel a little bit more confident. But given that you're going into all three of those games, which the Mississippi State game, that's another emotional game if it's the way I'm thinking it's going to go. So very easily for them to go 0-3 in those games. But it's very easy for me to think that to me, at the worst, at the best, they could go 3-0. But from my perspective,
that's wishful thinking right there.
The best case scenario to me is 2-1.
Best case scenario, so your loss is to Bama?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it goes back to which Mississippi State team shows up, and then can we do enough on defense, cause turnovers to beat them?
Think if Arkansas is still ranked when they go to Starkville, they'll be up for that game. 100%.
You think Bama's going to injure KJ Jefferson?
No, not on purpose, at least.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Why would you want to predict injuries?
They're notorious for injuring quarterbacks.
He did.
Down.
We'll talk about y'all's game in a few weeks. But okay, so
who else has anyone else have a hot take? What's your hot take?
I promise you, if Cooper Rush is undefeated when Dak's healthy to return, they're not going to pull him. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I agree with Sean and RJ. They are not going to pull him. Why would you? They both have contracts, and no, they're not.
I think to me, the game that would make that interesting is if he managed to beat the Rams. But like I said,
I think Dak might be back by then. No.
Well, Dak's supposed to.
They're looking at him being back.
Who knows when he's supposed to be back? He was supposed to be back. I think the first when.
So what I was hearing early on was it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks.
There's talks that he could be back.
Then Jerry said 4 weeks, which would put him back against Philly. But then last thing is I've been hearing is, hey, his stitches have come out. Like he'll be ready to go.
He could be back as early as this week.
With the way Cooper Rush is playing, there's no need to rush it, and so no pun intended. But all that all that to be said though, no, that is my hot take. If Cooper Rush is playing this well after Dak's debacle, they're not going to pull him.
Like I said earlier, I don't think they will, but it gives you, it makes you more comfortable that if Dak comes back and he looks as bad as he did against the Buccaneers game, you can go, okay, let's go ahead and put Rush back in because he's shown that he can play in games. So until he disproves or until he shows that until he shows that he's not as trustworthy as we thought he was, you can put him into a game when he's struggling, if he struggles when he comes back.
And I hope Dak looks at this and goes okay, my backup's looking good. I've got to look better. I'm hoping
maybe it motivates him.
My main thing is don't throw Dak into a situation that's going to not be conducive for success. Agreed. I know our offensive line has looked better, but don't let his first game back be against Philly and their defensive line. That's not a situation that's conducive to success. Either wait till the week after or if he's healthy, bring him back against the Rams. I mean, their defensive line isn't a piece of cake either. All you have is Aaron Donald.
That's Aaron Donald.
Just that
And
small
then-
thing. But
And then Von Miller, right?
but give him
Or,
a week to. Nah,
Bobby
Von
Wagner.
Miller's with the Bills now.
Bobby Wagner. I meant Bobby Wagner, right?
Right. I have no idea, dude. But the point is, give Dak a week to, like, give him a situation to come back to that's going to be conducive to success. If that means waiting until after the Eagles game, because I guess the week after the Eagles we're at home against the Lions. So the Lions look decent this year. They're a lot more competitive than they were last year, but that situation would be a lot more conducive to success than the Rams defensive line or the Eagles defensive line. Yeah.
Is Cooper Rush going to take us all the way?
Super Bowl, baby.
Coop. What did they call Andy Dalton? What, the Red Rocket or something? We got to come up with a name for Cooper Rush.
The Red Rush.
I'll give you that assignment for next week. I'll let you do that.
The slinging
Yeah,
tomato.
yeah. You're gonna. Wow.
He just said the slinging tomato.
James is praying to the heavens that I did not just say that.
That's a violation.
Violation.
The slinging tomato.
No, the slinging tomato.
Yeah.
No, that's awful.
You know, 'cause he
terrible.
slings it.
Man, what the heck
Yes.
is that? Okay.
No.
All right. I've got a parting shot, and then I will let y'all have one if you've got one. But then let's get out of here. This one's got me a little heated. I'll be honest. What the hell is ESPN doing? I understand Aaron Judge is about to hit history on his home runs, but why are you one? Okay, I understand. Split screening is a reasonable compromise. I don't care though. Like, why are I'm watching college football because I want to watch college football. If I gave any single fuck I ever had about Aaron Judge and his home run title, I would watch that game. I don't care.
Agree.
Like, if you're gonna do a split screen, okay, whatever. Still don't care. But when I'm watching Texas and Texas Tech, and you cut away full screen in the middle of a play, you're cutting away in the middle of a play. For that, I'm not having it.
Agree 100%.
I'm not having it.
In a society where technology has made like cool feeling tissues for blowing your nose, one would think they'd be able to split the screen, but
They
no.
did. They did.
If you're gonna do that, then like, you know, where were we like switching the viewing platform when the Cleveland Indians went on their like streak of winning like 22 games? Like, I agree 100%. Keep it on. Don't switch it in the middle of a play. 1, 2, like split screen it or something.
Or have one of those little pop-ups in the little corner saying, "Hey, Aaron Judge live at bats. Go to this channel if you want to watch it." Right? Something. Picture in picture. Something.
Well, they were for the first couple of games during like the lunch, the 11 o'clock kicks, they were doing split screen. So like they would, I think they did it for the Auburn Missouri game, which nobody cares about, and then they also did it on the ABC game, which I think was like Maryland and Michigan, and which I didn't. I think
there was 3 at bats. I remember the first one, Aaron Judge walked. He then struck out looking, and I'm like, "You're split screening for that? You're wasting my time." I'll watch the replay later. I don't care if he does it real time. If I wanted to watch it real time, I'm either watching the game on TV or going to the game. I do not care. Okay, but now that's enough on me. Who else has a parting shot? Get good, ESPN. I'm pissed.
I have a parting shot at our good friends, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Oh no.
While your defense looks good so far, slow your roll because who have you played? the Detroit Lions, the Commodores, I mean the Commanders, and then you could make a case for Minnesota, but you played them at home. And so I'm kind of like,
And
To be fair,
Kirk Cousins-
they absolutely shut down Justin Jefferson.
but hold on. It's like a couple years ago when the Cowboys started 3-0 and they looked good.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins looked awful. Kirk Cousins looked awful. Kirk Cousins was playing catch with who was it? Who's their great second defensive back?
On
Who?
Eagles?
The guy that they yeah.
Darius Slay?
Yeah. Kirk Cousins was playing catch with Darius Slay in that game against the Vikings.
But who did you say is playing
Against
catch?
the Eagles.
Who's throwing?
Kirk Cousins?
Exactly. And whose
Well,
record is
no.
what? In
And
prime
he's
time.
awful in
They're
oh my gosh, he is terrible
money
in prime
fully
time games.
guaranteed.
That's my parting, because I'm seeing now like the Eagles are like favorites to win the NFC, and I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid yet. No bias, but no, because I haven't played anybody.
I think they have. Well, I think given how great their preseason was, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a 2-dog race. I thought it was going. I think New York could potentially fight, but I think it's going to ultimately be between us two.
Well, so here's the thing. If history is going to hold form, it's not going to be the Cowboys winning the division this year. Just face history.
Nope.
Like nobody's repeated since it's like 2004 when the Eagles did it 4 in a row times or whatever. So mathematically, it's going to be Giants, Eagles, or Commanders. Well, Commanders aren't exactly looking great.
Commodores.
I'm not convinced that the Giants are going to be good enough over the course of the entire season. Now, I really like Brian Daboll, but I'm not convinced they're going to be good over the course of the season. So guess who? That leaves our good friends, the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yep, we definitely will.
All right, you got some thoughts, Chris? Or are we getting out of here?
Nope. Just Arkansas play better. I got that. And then
Texas.
I guess go Cowboys, I guess.
All right. That was episode 3 of Going the JC Route podcast. Don't give Disney no free advertisements here. That's not what we're doing.
Why not?
But they don't deserve it. They've got plenty of money.
They do.
Thanks for tuning in. That was episode 3 of Go the JC Route podcast. This is your host, JC. Again with the boys, AJ Brock and the Birdman. Oh God, Chad Morris. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear on future episodes. Until next
Go Mavs.
time. Go
Go
Mavs.
Stars.
It's not basketball season
Go
yet.
Stars.
Go
Catch you-
Stars.
Go Dallas.
We'll catch you when we catch you. We'll see you
USA.
next time.
Go
Go
USA.
Hawks, I guess. Go, yeah, USA. Even though they tied who was it? Saudi Arabia.
Don't get me started on world football.
We don't have time. Let's get out of here. Let's get out.
We're getting out of here. Catch y'all soon.